So let's go ahead and call our workshop meeting of the Harlem Township Zoning Commission to order. And Valerie, would you call the roll, please? Here.
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 Alan Zaco.
Here.
All right, very good. And Jim Steelsmith is here, but he stepped out of the room. And the other guests we have this evening, Holly, is here from Crossroads Community Planning to provide us with information, and you have a new assistant that we haven't met.
Yes.
I'm also from Crossroads. I'm a new planner. My name is Megan.
Megan,
Yep.
nice to meet you, Megan.
You too.
There's Jim. I just said I knew you were here. All right.
Check. It's spelled
Well, the only other
C
thing we have on our
E C.
agenda tonight is approval of minutes, but I would like to really see if we can't go ahead and deal with the mixed services business residential first, and then we'll deal with the minutes at the end. There's four of us that have already reviewed the minutes, so it'll probably go quickly depending upon if Tom has any additional that he will need to add when we get there. But we're not going to deal with the minutes right now. We'll go ahead and move forward with the main item of business for tonight. It's the only additional item we included on the agenda.
Thank you.
So is your mic on back there?
No idea.
The button should be up.
Yeah. It is up, yes.
Okay. So with that, I know we had our previous discussion, and based on that input you received, you made some made some significant changes actually from that first
Yes.
draft. So this time you're still calling this a first draft because it's totally different from in many ways from
Correct.
the first one that we did see. So
Correct. Yes.
I'll turn that over to you now, Holly.
All right. Sounds good. So this is what we're referring to as the Mixed Service Business Residential MSBR Overlay District. And as you mentioned, it is significantly different from what you saw the last time we were here. This overlay district has been shortened up. Previously, what I showed you included areas along Trenton Road, down 605, and then including some areas along Center Village Road. And the commission felt that that was too broad, and we needed to shorten that up. And so what we decided was to mirror the area that the trustees just approved as one of the TIF areas, tax increment finance districts, which is Trenton Road, just along the south side of Trenton Road, the parcels that abut that south side of Trenton Road. Do you want me to share my screen? I did not
I was
log
just
onto the
going to
meeting.
interrupt you and ask you if you would do that.
I can do that. I do have to get on your
You
meeting
should be
though.
able to log into the meeting without
Yeah.
problem tonight.
Yeah, I just have to do that. I didn't think about doing that ahead of time. Well, I'm not connected to the internet. And then go to notices. This is the workshop, correct?
Correct. There you go.
And then let me get this up on my screen. Am I able to share, or do you need to? No, I'm able to share. Perfect. All right, so this is the area, and I will turn it around here so that you can see the it still didn't work. Okay.
Whether you can rotate it or not, but if you can, it'd probably be helpful to the folks at home.
I was trying
Whoever's
to,
looking at
I
it
don't know on Word if I can rotate. On PDF I can. Do you know on Word? I don't
I'm not
think
too familiar with Word.
I can do this.
Okay.
I'll do this.
Well,
I just found it.
Oh, you did?
At
Okay.
the top, go to layout,
Okay.
the tabs, and then there's orientation, and then
Mm-hmm.
go to landscape.
Well, I did that, but it didn't turn the picture.
Oh,
So we'll just do this.
there you go. You're getting it.
Sort of.
A
There
little
we
bit at
go.
a time.
Maybe. Which I'm
Almost there.
almost there. Okay, there we go.
There we
Perfect.
go. Good
All right.
job.
So this is the area that we are looking at. It is basically the south side of Trenton Road, as I mentioned. 605 is running north and south here. So we do go slightly over to the east of 605, which is slightly different than the TIF area. But
Could I ask you why you
Mhm.
decided to go east of 605?
I believe it's because of, and I have to say this was a while back that we discussed this, but the area just to the east of that, which is not included, we thought would be, eventually brought into the other mixed use overlay that runs along 37 and County Line Road. And we didn't want to leave like a little part out. I think that's why we included that in there. Do you have a recollection?
Yeah, that's the property owners next to this. And this butts into the industrial.
It
So,
doesn't though.
huh?
It doesn't.
I said eventually.
County, well, yeah, but for now, the county line road overlay only goes on the east side of county line.
County Line Road overlay stops at Green Cook. So there would be, right now, there would be a gap between the current
Mhm.
overlay
Yeah.
and what this overlay is proposing.
And
Which seems a
what we
little,
were looking at is for that area to become industrial.
Right. And so we didn't,
The property owners, everybody had discussed in the past, if you look past. That we had all discussed that would to be industrial.
we did not discuss all of that being industrial.
You didn't,
No.
but the strategic planning and the planners did. And the open meetings.
And I don't think they had, very much in favor of that.
Actually, we did. And we had a lot of residents call in and want to be that way. We even had residents call in south of that and wanted to be in it.
I just don't recall anybody at those meetings saying they wanted
Absolutely,
it to be industrial.
absolutely, it did.
Well, that's a different,
That's
that's
yeah,
different
that's
anyway.
different, yeah.
a time
Exactly.
for a discussion on that later. Right
Right.
now, let's focus on what this proposal is, which
Right.
is not
But that's why it was taken to
including that
that part.
area. It is including an area that's east of 605, and
Right.
that's what
Mhm.
Joni
That's
was
why
initially
I
asking
just
about.
asked because what is in the current comprehensive plan just has, one property width to the east side of 605, not 3 or 4.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to look at that comp plan anyways, so.
But it's an overlay. I mean, we can
Yeah.
lay something else over it in the future. It's, what we want to do is definitely get something up against what's coming down. So both sides isn't Trenton Township also doing a industrial overlay.
So yeah, Trenton Township is looking at doing an overlay from 37 south to Trenton Road, so it's trying to mirror that.
And with Trenton Township, it would go further east. than
Yes,
what
it would
you're
go all the way
showing.
to 37.
Yeah,
Yeah, correct. But we're anticipating those other parcels being at some point bumped into that industrial overlay.
okay.
What's
Right now,
happening
you
is
don't
that-
have we're not looking at a proposal for an industrial overlay.
No.
All right.
So I think you mentioned, but I missed it. This does not exactly match the boundaries of the,
The tip stops at 605.
605, right?
okay, all right. Got it.
Otherwise, it's the same.
Go ahead.
All right.
Yeah, thank
All
you.
right, so then, moving on to the effect of the overlay, I'm not gonna really get into that. That is the same, language that we have in all of the other overlays. Basically just saying that it is an administrative act when somebody files to pull down the cloud. Here's where things start to differ from some of the other overlays. We refer to this district as a transect based district. This is because we are looking at bringing the buildings closer to the roadway and being able to look at their form more than the actual use. So it's a hybrid code. It's not a form-based code. So I don't getting into a lot of the details. There's a form-based code. There's Euclidean zoning, and this is kind of bringing the two together. So it's a little bit different from what you're used to. So we try to utilize some illustrations to address that. As far as permitted uses, we do allow a mixture of uses ranging from business, commercial type uses to multifamily dwellings, including office uses, restaurants, schools, and auto-oriented uses. So this is how it's a little bit different from the mixed use on the south side. The south side does not allow auto-oriented uses. We are proposing that within this overlay because of the industrial uses that we anticipate to be nearby, both in Harlem Township along the 37 County Line corridor, as well as to the north in the area that's being annexed into Sunbury. So being able to have fast food restaurants with drive-throughs, being able to have services that people utilize their car for because they are going to and from these work sites. So we have adjusted that district to allow those. The one thing I do want to point out is that we limit the commercial uses to 1,000 feet from the proposed right-of-way of Trenton Road. So if you go back to the map shows some pretty deep lots along Trenton Road, and we didn't want those commercial uses to be sitting way back where you can't see them. For one thing, it's harder to promote commercial uses when you can't see them. And then two, we felt that it was more appropriate to have that transition into the residential areas to the south by not allowing the commercial uses back so far.
Curious as to the 1,000 feet. How'd you come up with that number? Okay, Jim came up with that number.
I did a survey of existing areas that do that. And we discovered that with these farms being so deep, we haven't run into this before in what we
In terms of the lots, yes.
Yeah. So these farms running so deep, and like Tom had mentioned before, we don't want to split a property. So went out and looked at other commercial, small shopping centers, small outlots, that type of thing. The 1,000 feet gives them plenty of room to do what they want to do, and then digress back into, residential, ranch apartments, nursing homes, that type of thing. They're all not sitting on top of each other. But yeah, that's where we came with the cutoff.
Okay.
So when a developer comes in, he doesn't say you're crowding me. But on the other hand, we don't want to go too far. So that's why we surveyed other areas that have done this.
Very good, thank you.
Okay. Moving on to prohibited uses.
Oh, wait a minute.
Sorry.
Why is there no P besides dwellings, single family, and research and development?
So single family, we did not include that because the multifamily blends better with the commercial. And then as you get south, it will turn into the single family residential areas outside of this overlay. We probably should just remove that line. That's probably just an error on our part of having that in there. And then the other one you asked about was research and development.
Mhm.
That is more of an industrial type use. So we would include that in our industrial overlay. And again, we probably just didn't remove that when we.
So it will be,
Yeah.
that will
There you
be
go.
coming out. I had it
Correct.
marked too,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
didn't
Yep.
know if it was supposed to be.
Nope, we'll remove those.
Okay.
I'm also wondering, you mentioned keeping the more commercial uses towards the road.
Mhm.
But some of these things don't have an asterisk next to them that I would have felt would be commercial, like commercial recreation facilities, large, for example. I mean, there's a number of them on here. Why, why wouldn't those be included with the little asterisk?
So commercial recreation that's indoor, I believe could potentially be further back and be attractive to a business owner, because those are like your like trampoline houses, for kids to jump on trampolines and those sorts of things. Outdoor recreation facility, we should definitely include the asterisks next to, because we don't want that outdoor use near residential.
Well, I see, I see what you're saying. It could be still attractive to a commercial business owner, but if the intent is to transition into the residential as you get further back, then that's fine for the commercial, but what about the residential piece? So I don't know if that, I think those kind of conflict in terms of strategies there.
So what's the rest of the group think
Personally.
on that?
Well, let me verify on the outdoor recreation facility, that should have an asterisk on it. Is that what you just?
Yes,
stated?
and I have a note to add that for sure.
I mean, I was thinking the ones that says commercial recreation facilities, large, small, communication facilities and utility substation. I don't. You're here nor there on that, I guess. I don't.
For substations, utilities are gonna trump zoning anyways.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be a moot issue. But so the question would be commercial recreation facilities, large and small. Do we want those to be limited to the 1,000 feet?
I don't have a problem with that.
So just for comparison, Greg's Sports Barn on Fancher. Would you consider that large or not?
I feel like that's small to me personally.
Okay, so something bigger than that would have to be
So I believe the
Okay.
cutoff is 5,000 square feet
for,
for small to large.
So if you had something 5,000 square feet, would you be able to put it that close to the road and still have all the other things you need to, like ingress, egress, parking,
Parking.
all that other stuff?
You could fit it in close to the road, yeah.
Remember, you're going 1,000 foot back. It's not really that close if you want to utilize that zoning.
Yeah.
All right,
Like I
let's
said,
see.
development, we have no problem if you want to restrict it one way or the other.
Commercial recreation facilities, large. We're pointing out, we want an asterisk on it. Is that correct?
Be potentially closer to the road.
How about commercial recreation facilities outdoor? That one we've already said earlier, I think, we
Right.
put an asterisk on that.
Fix on that.
A commercial recreation facility, small. Now, heard that discussion, but like a sports barn down here. I don't know how many thousands or how many square feet that building has. Well, Mike's not here.
No, it's not here.
But 5,000, 5,500. It's probably not that big.
I don't think it is. I'd be surprised if it was.
Yeah.
Their problem is parking.
As I say, I don't live around it, so I don't know, but is that potentially disruptive or conflicting with residential people who live around?
It shouldn't
what I'm
be.
saying? I don't know.
The answer to your question comes back to, it shouldn't be there. It got there by mistake.
Well, so I guess
So
what
then
I'm
put
saying
the
is,
asterisk
do
next
we
to it.
wanna,
Like I said, the only thing I see.
Yeah.
I don't know, we get a lot of noise complaints, but when I go by there, I would say that type of business is parking is the problem, yeah.
Yeah.
so.
Well, he uses, I think,
Use the church.
the church parking lot.
Yeah. Well, but it was
Supposedly
never
has an
planned.
agreement
Nothing
to
was
that.
ever designed and
And the
planned.
BZA approved
No.
it.
I wasn't there.
So
You
to
weren't
this
on there at the
point,
time.
I wasn't
I
there.
think we should also star that one as well.
That's fine.
Person.
All right,
So
that's
these
what
are
we're trying to
all
establish.
the
So we're going to put
commercial
an asterisk on all three of these commercial recreation facilities.
And what about the one that's separate from that, that just says outdoor recreation?
That
So-
needs to come out. So we have it twice. We have it up at the top, that's commercial recreation facility, comma, outdoor, and then we have it again.
Oh,
down
So
That-
that,
So
the
that
second
outdoor
one.
recreation facility is just going to be deleted
Correct.
in that
Okay.
column.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, I did not find a definition in our definitions article for outdoor recreation facility
So,
or any recreation.
I have those definitions and we can add them too. I was thinking that we included that with the other overlay districts when we did it, but I will double check. And if we haven't, we'll add them in.
even though you say that public utilities will trump zoning, I think I would like an asterisk on that one as
They're
well.
gonna put it
I don't-
wherever they can connect to the high intensity overhead lines is where they're gonna put a substation. I do a
What is,
lot of
what is a
substation.
communication facility? Like, what is
Cell
that?
tower?
Cell tower.
Okay. I had in my mind, like, I don't know, like a phone bank or something, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why.
It's
Okay.
not like,
And actually, Ohio Revised Code requires you to allow cell phones in commercial areas, cell phone towers in commercial areas. You can only regulate in residential
Residential.
areas.
yeah.
Now, this is a mixed use area, so I guess you could argue that maybe you could regulate them, but
Well, if we can't regulate it, why is it in here at all then?
because it would be permitted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why I don't feel like we can add the asterisks to that particular line. Are there any other ones that you felt needed to have an asterisk by them?
Places of assembly, small.
Okay.
And wanted to get everybody's feeling about the school. We, are we okay with schools being intermixed with the residential
I
area?
think they're better further from roads anyway.
It's preferable, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, you want, typically that's good planning practices to put your schools with your neighborhoods, so
Yeah.
kids can walk there.
Get it right, exactly. Trying to make them walkable.
You know,
Okay.
try to. Parents will still drop them off, but
Now, even in a community like Bexley, traffic is a huge problem
Mhm.
because the parents just drive their kids.
Yep.
Even if they live 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that disruptive to neighborhoods?
anything else on permitted uses?
Oh,
A small, just for argument's sake, a small, place of assembly, I assume that's religious.
It includes that, but it also includes event centers because we cannot distinguish between a church and an event center because they gather the same number of people. So it,
And a small, place of assembly is, I don't know what the numbers are of
I
this.
believe it's 300.
So it's
People?
a small elementary school size. So we're saying with a small elementary school, the setback is okay, but
Yep.
I would just consider leaving that as a plain.
I think that's a good point. I
Oh.
think that's probably what our rationale was when we originally didn't have the asterisks by it.
But a place of assembly, it could be like a commercial, like event hall or something. I mean, 300 people, that's a lot of people.
I mean,
That's like a
wedding
good
venue.
size wedding, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of a big, we say small, but that's not really small.
It's what, we have the one event center up on 605 right now. That's approved. And it's approved to operate as a, what we call that, Jim, under agriculture,
Agritourism.
yeah, it's under agribusiness. So
What
they
is-
can be out there under, on any lot
Place
that is
reserved.
zoned, AR1. If they make it an agri
Mhm.
business. And that's what that one was
Mhm.
approved as.
Yeah. And you have to remember too, that they have to meet the development standards. They have to come to you and get approval of a development plan too, to make sure it's integrated into the area.
So, I'm not sure that, that the small event center, I mean, if you go to an event center like, where they would have 1,000 people coming in, that definitely,
Right. And we have the asterisks by that.
yes, for sure. I'm not sure about the size of what the size of this would be, but I'm thinking of, the Glass Rooster.
She just said 300 people
300 people.
for the small.
No, it would be a small
Well,
church size.
yeah. So is that going to be the limit, 300?
300, yeah.
Okay. So anything 300 or less would be considered small. Over that would go into the large.
Right.
category. Back to you, Brittany. I'm glad I got that clarification.
No, I still think that that would be a large facility. Even though it says small, to me, that is a decent sized facility to have in a residential area personally.
Well, this
Like I
isn't,
said, a wedding, like a large wedding is 300 people, and that's like to fit that kind of event in a place, that requires a lot of space and parking and disruption potentially. I mean, you think of it one way, okay, a church, a little different than an event center, but it could be either.
It could be either. That's
It could
correct.
be,
Yeah.
and with a church, you have to imagine every week.
Every week, yeah,
Right? Now, maybe not
the
during the
traffic
week,
and the
but
parking
the
and
parking and the traffic.
Events could be every day
yeah, you could have events at a church too.
if we allow it via the plan.
I don't have any strong feelings one way or the other, so.
I don't think it's necessary because you can actually do it already.
Mhm.
They are doing it. Glass Rooster is doing it.
But do we want to do it if
They're
we
within
have a choice
1,000 feet of the road.
with a, yeah,
Yeah,
you can
it's-
still do it within
It is
1,000
next
feet
to
of
the
the road.
road.
So
It is
yeah,
close to
exactly.
605.
Yeah.
But
I'm just trying to think of the residential piece and protect the residential area.
Well, even the residences here are multifamily. They're
Right.
what, row houses and townhomes
Correct.
and motels and hotels.
there's no single family here in this particular
Common wall, single family.
And if you
common wall, yes.
if you abut a single family area on the south, it would require the buffer.
What's the recommendation coming from you guys?
I
Oh, I'm sorry,
go ahead.
neutral. Either way,
I would obviously on my side say that it blends in. That's how we had it originally. I mean, you have small schools, you have, churches. If you go to your residential district today, I bet you churches are conditional uses in your residential districts, right?
I don't
Single
think
family?
church, yeah, but I don't think Brittany's talking about a church, worried
No.
about church.
Yeah.
Not
We're not-
talking about-
But it has the same impact. 300 people coming to church is the same impact of 300 people coming to an event.
Yes, could be different hours of service, but to your point, we would have the say in
Say
what
what
those
those
hours
hours
of
are.
service are, but I mean, I'm not gonna say.
Oh,
I'm not gonna
I'm
say
not
anything about
adamantly opposed.
disruption of church traffic going down various roads in the area.
There could be alcohol sales, there'd be music,
Yeah,
there are not sales, but I mean, there could be a lot more that goes on with an event than a church service. A lot more that would,
I don't know, those Catholics can get pretty wild.
Get going at bingo and forget it.
yeah.
I'm only, all right.
All right, so you want the asterisks then?
I think Brittany seems fairly convinced she
do.
wants an
Yeah.
asterisk.
Me
Got
too.
one person who wants
I
it.
don't really care.
I'd like to keep it towards the road.
Okay, so
And
that's
there's-
enough.
So that's two.
You
Two
need one
in
more.
favor, and
Are you in favor of the asterisks on it, Joni?
I don't care one way or another.
I don't either. Tom? Okay.
Well, if you don't care one way or another and you have two that are adamant for it, then we put
We
it
have
in.
two people that
Yeah.
seem to want it.
Yeah.
So I don't think, yeah.
Yeah,
that's-
okay, we'll put it in.
Yes.
Carry on.
All right, going forward.
All right.
Any
so-
more asterisks?
Prohibited.
needed?
No, that's all I got.
No, but I want a decent restaurant instead of just fast food.
Yeah.
I wish I was allowed to put, like, we want this restaurant.
Only good
That's
restaurants
what,
are
that's
allowed.
what they do in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Only good ones.
All
All
right.
right, going on, page
Prohi-
6.
Yes, so prohibited uses are pretty much the same as the mixed use overlay district on the south side.
I have one question about E, just because I don't know much about the Ohio Revised Code. It says section 505. Did that change? Or is that always gonna be 505?
It should always be 505. I mean, the Ohio Revised Code does, I mean, if you look at it, it's, they'll amend things here and there, but I've never seen them in township sections totally move them around. but
Okay, I just want to make sure if we put it in here and
I'd
then they
add
like
something,
changed
but
it,
not-
Yeah,
that we didn't have
Right.
to change this then. Okay.
If that were to happen, I also would expect 2 organizations at least to notify us, the Township Association
Mhm.
and the prosecutor's office.
Yep. I
Okay.
agree.
And there are no conditional uses, obviously. It's either-
No conditional uses since it's an overlay with development plan approval.
Right.
Okay.
Procedure to apply is going to be the same procedure that we established for the mixed use overlay on the south side. So we just referenced that Article 31.
Good.
And then our development standards, some of it is very similar to the mixed use overlay, starting out at least. So you have to have 25 acres of tract size in order to pull down the cloud. Now that doesn't mean that you have to have minimum lot size of 25 acres. When we get further down in here, you can subdivide that 25 acres into smaller lots, but in order to pull it down and have a comprehensive development plan, it has to meet that 25 acres.
Just a typo in B, minimum tract size 4.2.
Mhm.
Ah, you got
Ah, thank you. Open space, minimum of 20% open space is required within the overall tract size. And then we do talk about different ways to manage that open space and fund it. It can be, you know, through a new community authority, JED, through a owners association, et cetera. That's the same language that we use in the overlay to the south. Site design standards, I believe all of those are the same as the other overlay districts. I don't think we made any changes to that. Number of dwelling units permitted, 8 dwelling units per net developable acre. So this is from where we allow the multifamily or where they're going to put multifamily in, then they are limited to those 8 dwelling units and we use the net developable acres. Sewage.
Wait,
dis-
before we go on.
Yep.
Didn't we change existing rights of way? Didn't we just make that road rights of way somewhere recently? Do we need to? You know what I'm talking about? Now I can't remember what it was in.
It's in FR1. Yeah, we changed it there.
Okay,
So that the only easements that we're considering now is deducting from the gross acreage is road right of way.
Oh, okay. So I need to add the word road between existing and rights of way.
And you need to take out recorded easements.
Got it. Okay.
Unless that's what you really wanted.
that's
No, I want you to be consistent with everything else, except for it'll be your other overlays will be off
Yeah, because they were written
written.
before this.
Yeah. So I guess how do you want to handle that? You want to keep these the same as the others and
Well, that's what happens when we change something. That's it.
I'm okay. And
Well,
I guess my immediate instinct would be to leave it the way it is because it's an overlay district and it should line up with the other overlay district.
Mhm.
But
and it has to follow the procedures of the overlay districts, which I think also talk about
let's leave it how it is, and then at some point we can go back and adjust all the overlays
We
to
can do it all at
reflect
one
and do
time.
it all at once, so that there's not differences.
So there's no conflict. I
Mhm.
think that's probably the better
Okay.
way to do it.
All right.
Got a question about the undevelopable land. If they're, say, the tract configuration or something where you just have bad slopes, lots of flood prone area, significant tree stands, and it causes that last sentence to be let's say you've got 100 acres or, or 10 acres or whatever it is, but it causes it to be less than 70%. Like if
Mhm.
there's undevelopable land that you have to subtract, but it says in no cases, well,
Right.
what happens then?
Then they can utilize they can use 70%. Like, so even if they, let's say they have 50 acres that is undevelopable out of 100, that's 50%. They would actually be able to bump up to the 70% and get a little bit denser.
So they would be able to add more.
Mhm.
They still wouldn't be able to develop in the undevelopable areas. They would just
Correct.
make higher density.
Correct.
I do have a,
Mhm.
we're on page 7.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. E.
All right, I'm looking at item 4A. A majority of trees are dead, diseased, dying, or invasive, or is that an extra or in there, I think?
Or it
Well,
goes to B.
No, or goes to B.
The colon is in the wrong spot. It should be colon or, and then not the semicolon. Semicolon or, and then the semicolon afterwards
Okay,
should be removed.
I thought there was some
Yeah.
mistake there. All right.
Where you-
And then the other thing I have a question about is on item number 8. It makes reference to section 36.071.
J.
J,
Where is that section?
that's 3607J.
Where in 36.
Oh,
Oh,
it's a,
oh, there's no
that,
J.
that's a letter?
38,
after seven? It's a
3608 J.
Okay, my bad. I was,
No, you're right, because it's.
It should be 3608.
3708. So you were right, but for the wrong reason.
Good call.
36. And the 2 lines below
there
that,
should be a period after 7 then, and then the letter J,
well, it should be 08,
right? Is
actually.
that what it is?
Yes.
It's, oh, it's under 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not even 7, yeah. Okay. 3708J. There should be a period after J and then the J. I'm sorry, after the 8 and then the J. Okay. Got that cleared
We're
up.
good? Okay.
Yeah, I'm still not clear your explanation for Louis' question
I think
on the 70%.
so if the
So if 50% of the land is just not developable for some reason, although I don't think that's gonna happen in this section.
use the 70% to set their maximum dwelling.
My
unit,
backyard.
They would bump up the number of dwelling, they bump up the density of their development. As if they had 70%, but they don't. So they.
Okay,
it's
but that's
more
not really
dense.
what it says here. It says
Correct. Yeah,
70% of the acres.
Of the gross acres.
Yeah.
So what it's doing is if you have 100 acres
Mhm.
and you have 50 acres that can't be developed, that's 50% instead of 70%. So you would be able to go up to 70% of the gross tract to calculate your density.
So instead of it being 8 dwelling units per 50 acres, they would say, we're gonna do 8 dwelling units per 70 acres and put them on 50.
Well,
acres.
actually, it's 8 dwelling units per 100 acres, but because you have to subtract yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, the 50. I'm sorry. Yes, you're right.
So then they would take those, it'd be, what's 8 times 7 is 56.
Yep.
You're not being
56
tested.
on
Yeah.
50 acres instead of putting 56 on 70 acres.
Is that really what we want?
Just be more dense.
But remember, then you've got 50 acres of open
Open
space
space.
and park and trails and
Right.
all that. It's not like you don't get to use it.
And we had to do it that way to treat everybody the same, because if you have somebody that has more than 30% of undevelopable land, you're treating them differently than everyone else.
It feels like a taking for them.
Yes.
They're not, and the flooding is not gonna be the one, slopes, maybe not the one, but it's the significant tree
Trees,
stands
yep.
that we're gonna be able to try to protect if we allow this.
Mhm.
Versus just letting them cut it all down. Like
Clear
we
cut.
would tell them,
Yeah.
you can't cut all that down, that's undevelopable, but we're gonna let you.
You don't have to cut it down, but you can compact your development more and
Yep.
keep the same number of houses that you
Right,
otherwise could
you
have.
can still get what you want, you just have to make it a little more
More-
dense.
Yep.
Yeah.
I gotta do my job. So 2 lines below 3608J. I'm gonna put in
Wait a
the
minute.
word.
What page is that?
Page 7.
We're still on the same page, just below where we changed.
Okay.
36.
Oh, I'm looking
What
for,
item are you in?
looking for J here.
Paragraph,
9.
9.
You need to add the word
Second line.
100.
No construction of buildings is allowed inside the 100-year floodplain. That
In
line.
addition, no structures are permitted within 100 feet, spelled out with a number afterwards. I do my job, right?
Yep.
Okay.
You haven't lost it, Tom.
Gotcha. Okay, anything else on page 7? If not, back to you,
All right.
Molly.
Let's see, we are requiring, everyone to have water and sewer, in order to utilize this overlay district. So until that gets there, this district would not be utilized. Stormwater is the same language as the other overlay, districts. Subdivision standards, just basically, again, it's the same as the other ones, but you have to follow Delaware County subdivision process. Pavement for parking lots, and private driveways, have to, connect to the public streets. Within the 50 feet of where they connect, they have to be built to public road standards, is what that's saying. Just to create that apron and that transition from the public road. Paths, a 10-foot wide multi-use path is required for all developments. It's must be constructed along the main line road. And then also you can require paved or unpaved walkways throughout residential areas and open spaces as determined by a development plan.
In the county.
In the county, so you said? Oh. Yeah. So. Street trees would be required for all new developments. And then, we have our,
Something-
200-foot woodland buffer.
Hold on. I have
Oh,
something
sorry.
in street trees.
Okay.
I don't know if this needs to be, I'm being Tom again. Do we need to add a 1 after one side of all roadways, or is that not applicable to that rule? Okay, just wanted to check. Don't want to find it later.
Going on to the woodland buffer, a 200-foot woodland buffer is required along Trenton Road and State Route 605. A 100-foot prairie buffer is established along the right-of-way along any other existing township, county, or state road. And these are the same buffers that we have in the other overlay districts, so you should be familiar with those.
Under L. Does that need a heading in bold?
I was just looking at that too. I can add that. I don't
Buffers,
disagree with
yeah.
that. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Uh, And then moving on down to, I mean, going all the way to M, which is on page 11. This is where you get into the bulk and area requirements. So we are requiring that 25 acre tract size, 1 acre minimum lot size. And then the lot width is the depth of, the, half the depth of the lot is what is required for the width. And then your setback along 605 and Trenton Road is 200 feet. Along all other roads, it's 100 feet. Setbacks from new collector and local roads is 30 feet. Side setback is 25 feet. And if you have a mixed use building, you can go up to 45 feet in height. If you have a single use building, it's 35 feet in height. That is the same as the mixed use area on the south side. We do allow the rooftop units and to extend a little bit higher for those rooftop units as well. And then the minimum driveway setback is not applicable because we do not have single family in here. So we want to allow shared driveways and common access points between these communities. And then 80% maximum lot coverage on the individual lots. You still have to maintain that open space requirement too. And then maximum building size, we do not have one in this overlay.
Just if you don't mind going back to page 11,
Sure.
and this is just your little diagram here. This was just slightly different from the one in the mixed use
Really?
signature road stuff. You got your little car well below ground surface.
Oh yeah, I do, don't I? Look at that. Ah, thank you.
It's going through a tunnel.
There we go.
Underground,
It just got bumped a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll bump. There we go. Thank you.
it's a tunnel.
Never noticed that. It's like,
You look out your window.
No, this probably wouldn't, in the setbacks and strictly residential areas. We made some changes recently for flag lots.
Okay.
There's nothing about flag.
Nothing, no, because they're single family in here. No.
And then under page 12, right under the top box. That second line, perimeter buffers required as outlined in section 3607. I don't know if that should be 3607 or 3608 again.
I think that should be eight again.
Oh, yeah. Missed that one.
And then moving on to minimum dwelling unit floor
Verify
area.
That's accurate here. Let's see.
I'm sorry, what?
I didn't do that.
oh, is it? I'm pretty sure it is Q. Because I looked at that too. I was like, wait, where is Q? What? Didn't
You
catch
starts on page 16.
didn't catch the 08 though.
You,
Yeah.
Yeah, Q13 is the perimeter buffer.
Q third.
perimeter buffer. It's
There
on
it is.
page 19.
We good?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
what
accurate.
happened?
Yeah.
You
you
kicked
leave?
me off?
You left.
Oh.
Somebody just.
Looks like somebody left. Yeah.
It looks like I got
Like Holly
kicked
got
off.
You
that.
you got kicked off.
That's weird. All right.
Oh yeah, Holly, you left.
Wondering there, I think the internet cut out because look, it's just spinning.
For some reason bumped you off. Huh?
Don't have to-
Our internet, it has been in and out all day.
I'm still on though.
It's not letting me in.
Going up.
Let's see.
No, but Mike and I are still signed in.
I'm so.
Says I'm connected,
Oh, Lou's
but
still
it's not connected.
No,
It lies.
Yeah,
The
do
internet
you want me
lies.
to just continue on?
I have to sign back in.
No. It won't let me connect.
Oh, to the guest.
No internet connection. It says I'm connected. Oh, you mean like disconnect and,
You know how you have to like.
oh, all right, I'll disconnect,
Yeah,
reconnect.
as it gets fussy, and then you gotta go to the webpage.
No, it's searching.
All right. Well.
Do you want to see if you can get on,
Yeah.
Megan, and then you can share your screen?
I was on a Zoom conference today and that exactly happened to me and I had to go sit next to another computer.
Their password.
Yeah, it's Harlem Guest, H and G. are
Knocked you off.
But it's all on the same
Yeah,
system.
that shouldn't make any difference really.
Or
All right,
we're-
she looks
we're
like she's
stealing all the
getting
good
in.
internet.
Is
Is that
Oh,
what we're
maybe I
doing?
got it on.
That's what I
We're
feel
good.
then at home. Taking all the
So
good.
go to public notices. Go scroll down to workshop.
Who is still on?
There it is.
Did Bob leave?
No, Bob's still there.
I'm not.
Mike's still there. Louis popped off.
Now, Darlene locked out.
It's not letting her connect either.
I can log out, maybe that'll help.
I know, well, Louis just logged out, but it didn't seem to make a difference. Well, we can
Yeah,
carry
it's
on
just
with
spinning
our
on hers too.
paper. Okay.
All
Yep,
right.
It says the site can't be reached.
All right, so going back to N on page 12. Mm,
Actually, it's working.
oh, is it- there we go.
Somebody's back.
That's Megan.
Yep, she got in.
Okay, good.
She can share her screen.
Oh,
So
I know, it's like Megan's in a living room or something.
there we go.
Okay.
All right, we're in business now.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome. So minimum dwelling units per floor area. That is the minimum size of each dwelling unit. That is no different than what is on the south side mixed use area. And then rural design standards for multifamily, residential, office, commercial, and mixed use buildings is O. This is very similar language to the south side as well. So I don't think there's a lot of need to go through that.
Is there
Rear-
anything that was changed? I guess
No.
would be my question.
No, there's nothing
Okay.
that's changed.
I just have one question on page 13.
Okay,
That last paragraph, talking about the wood columns. The zoning commission shall recommend to the township trustees a width it deems to be sufficient. That'll be based upon each individual plan when it comes in. We're not
Yes.
talking about setting a standard that's going to.
nope. That would be as determined.
What I assumed,
Yep.
but I wanted to verify that
Yep.
that's what it would be.
I got a question under the building materials stuff too.
Mhm.
Doesn't allow any reflective or colored glass. That includes stained glass windows at a church. I like stained glass windows in
Mhm.
churches.
Should we put except for in a church? Except for in a religious
I-
facility?
I have no problem with allowing colored glasses in buildings.
But
I-
see you guys.
I would really rather that not be in there.
Trying to think of where that would cause a nuisance.
I will tell you
Like
why
here?
that gets thrown into all these overlays and everywhere I go. Have you ever been on Hamilton Road at 70? Just north of 70, there is a big glass building there with it's almost like an orange reflective
Okay.
glass.
Okay. I don't,
Seen that.
I mean, do we want to put something in here then, except for religious?
Yeah, I think we should allow stained glass windows.
Okay.
And maybe
Those-
that's different
The
from a
windows you're talking about are like it's like a
wall.
film for
Yeah.
maybe sun reflectivity or something.
Yeah, so I think we can do what Joni's saying and talk about stained glass windows. We can call that out separately. It would be allowed for any use,
Mhm.
but that would be different than the reflective glass
Right.
that's prohibited, and we can just call that out.
Yeah, stained glass is definitely different from reflective
Mhm.
glass.
Yep. Okay.
So
They're using the colored glass or the reflective glass primarily for, I guess, efficiency in terms of heating or cooling.
I honestly don't know why they use some of the glass they use. I don't know.
Well, some architects like it, I
Yeah.
guess.
You're gonna put an extra sentence in there.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so stained glass will be addressed here
Correct.
and it will be permitted.
Correct. Are we ready to go on to lighting? Lighting is the cutoff fixtures. We do limit the fixture height to 12 feet in height. When it is residential use and 20 feet in height when it is a commercial use or any use other than residential. And then we give examples of what cutoff lighting is. We have the color temperature of 3000 Kelvin, which is a warm white color. And then we also talk about the maximum lumens that are allowed, and then also how many foot candles can be at each along the property lines when abutting different types of uses. 0.3 foot candles when it's abutting a single family residential area, and then 1.0 foot candles when it's abutting any other use. And that's measured
Example of
at the
that,
property line.
Like, what is a foot candle? Like, I don't.
It's a measurement, and so the way that you would do it is in the submittal requirements, the developer's required to submit a photometric plan, and it'll actually show the number of foot candles at the property line. And you just need to make sure it's under that 0.3 or under the 1.0, depending upon the use.
I'm
Yeah.
just curious, like, do we have an example?
We
Like,
won't be going out specifically and measuring it after the construction. It's a matter of they put it in their plan.
And then they have to.
These foot candles, though. I know, I'm like, what is it?
Yeah, it's a very standard.
Yeah, it's an
First
FC
one.
usually abbreviation.
I'm trying to picture what it looks like. Kind of like with decibels, like an air conditioner.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Under lumens again, you've got lot line twice, with line capitalized. At the end of the first paragraph, in the beginning of the first sentence in number I. Otherwise, it's lot line is.
Oh, okay.
Is anything in this, the lighting section significantly different
Mm,
from our other overlays?
Nope.
No.
Landscaping, very similar. Requiring, the parking bays with the landscaped islands, requiring a 36-inch high continuous plant hedge to screen the parking. And then also requiring all mechanical units, trash containers to be screened. And then we show examples of that. And then we have the perimeter buffer, which talks about when uses but an existing single family structure.
Page 17. At the bottom of the page, why is 11 bolded?
I just think that's an accident. We'll fix that.
And page 18. Under 12B service areas. The third line down, you mentioned all sub areas. I think you just took that out of the
Yeah,
language,
yep.
but it doesn't need to be here.
Correct.
And 3 lines up from the bottom, I think is service area of loading zone should be or loading zone.
Where is that one?
Page 18, third line from the bottom.
Under,
Oh, I
under
see it.
A.
Yep. Got it. Going on to parking. This parking area, this one limits the parking spaces to the 12 spaces in a single row, 24 spaces when you have a double row, before you have to have your planters and landscape islands. That is like the overlay on the south side. It's different than the industrial area. Industrial areas allow more parking without those islands. So there is a little bit of differentiation here based upon uses for this particular district. And then in the parking tables, we still include minimum and maximum parking requirements to try to ensure there's enough parking, but also limit how much they can actually put in so that we don't have a sea of asphalt. And we only include the uses that are included in this overlay district. So we took some of those parking requirements out when we cut back on this.
I just have a kind of a general question relating to landscaping. It's not specific to anything that's in the document. Thinking in terms of maintenance of the landscaping, once the development happens.
Mhm.
Is there anything that we can include to make sure that that gets addressed? Because I
So-
hate to see some of these businesses, they put the landscaping in and it dies
Mhm.
and they don't do anything about it. They just let the weeds grow.
Yeah, so it's for two things with that. One is kind of like along with the open space, the new community authority or whatever entity that's kind of over that area could be held responsible for maintaining that, making sure the funding's there and make sure it's maintaining it. If that's not the case and it's the property owner, either way, it can be a zoning violation. So Mike would have to issue a citation and make them address it.
Okay, so, and I guess I'm asking in terms of what would be in the language that would in fact allow him to do that.
That would just be your general township.
Just general development standards.
Yeah, I mean, just in the where his zoning permit requirements, if there's a violation of any of the requirements of the code, he's allowed to issue a citation and follow the enforcement
so-
procedures.
It wouldn't be necessary for anything specific to be within
No.
this document then,
No.
or this article.
No,
I just want to make sure that,
Yep.
you know, we do address those kinds of things because I hate to see that. Just let it go.
right,
Obviously, they don't want to spend the money if they don't have to.
right, right.
Okay,
Um,
that's it. As I said, it was just a general question.
Sure.
And specifically on page 20 in the top box. Under buffer required. You've got section 1307L1. The,
Oh, 3607 should be 3608 L1.
and the box below that, the same thing.
Okay.
And at the end of R1B.
Okay.
And C,
Same,
oh, sorry, 3C.
same comment.
Yeah, we'll go through and double check all these.
Commissioner, please. Got a question for our board. What's our, have we required any EV charging at in any of these overlay districts at all?
It's not been a requirement.
It has not been any.
I don't recall seeing that as a requirement anywhere.
Mm-mm.
Is it prohibited?
It's not prohibited.
No, if it's not permitted, it's prohibited.
Yeah.
If it's not listed as a permitted.
If it's not listed as permitted
it's-
use, it's prohibited.
But it is
Yeah.
an automobile oriented use,
Yeah, I mean, I would think that
so
you
it
would,
is permitted.
I mean, if you want me to be clear in the use chart, I would make the argument that it would be permitted as a parking space. It would be permitted, but I'll make it clear.
My question was, I didn't even think that it wouldn't be allowed.
Right.
My question was, do we want to encourage that businesses and developments, put those types of facilities in.
And the way you can do that, and I've done it in other codes, is allow them to count towards your number of parking spaces. It reduces down the number that they have to give.
For EV charging station that
It reduces
Gives
one,
them-
2 or 3 spaces
gives
that
them
they
too
can
much
reduce. Yeah.
that doesn't have to be in the code.
That would. If we want to encourage that and provide bonuses to them, we would have to put that in. I would make the argument that if they wanted to put an EV charging station in as one of their spaces, as it's written right now, that they would just be allowed to do that because it would be a parking space with the charger in it.
But could we also negotiate that as part of the plan?
I would
wouldn't
make
have
it,
to be in the code.
I think it needs to be in here. If you're gonna negotiate a number, yeah, that needs to be in here.
Put it in as a way to encourage it,
Yes.
include language to that effect.
Yeah, it's not a requirement. It's just an encouragement, a way to encourage it.
Then,
Yeah,
could- oh, go ahead.
I personally like to see that in a lot of the, all the
Mhm.
commercial.
Mhm.
Encourage a lot of
Yep.
parking.
I agree. I mean, we need to build that infrastructure. It's not.
But
Right.
but
I think-
if you give an incentive by encouraging someone to put in an EV charging station by eliminating 1 or 2 other parking spaces, I'm not sure I'm in favor of that balance.
Yeah, I feel like you might run short on parking then.
Especially shopping season.
Yeah.
So
Or,
maybe some other incentive.
I'm not, excuse me, I'm not that familiar with it, with the EV parking. Normally, if there's not an electric car, people leave it blank. But if you're in a gas car and nobody's using it, can you park there?
Oh,
You're not supposed
No,
to.
usually not.
Okay.
There's usually a
So,
prohibition
like,
against.
then to Tom's point, we've eliminated general parking by making that. I'm not against it. I'm just trying to figure out how to balance it.
Well, I think the suggestion though was that it would be an incentive that would be an additional space, not that would be taking one away.
no, the incentive, what I was saying is sometimes communities put incentives in to allow if they put one EV charging station in, that it would reduce 2 or 3 parking spaces.
If you put one EV in, you reduce the others.
That's what some communities do.
Like
And
if,
they're
based on
incentivized.
your development, if you're required to put in 25 spaces. And you say, well, I'm gonna put in 5 charging stations and now I only have to do 20 spaces.
Right.
I got rid of 5 parking
Or-
spaces
or
by putting
15.
in, or, whatever.
Whatever we decide.
I think we're saying 25 is there for a reason.
Mhm.
The fact that 1 is EV shouldn't really, I mean, it encourages people to charge, but I think as EV becomes more popular, people will have charging stations in their own garages.
Mm.
Public ones are gonna be less important.
Oh, no, they're still important. I have an EV car and we charge it in the garage, but we can't, if we don't have spaces to charge elsewhere, we can't go very far.
Okay.
So,
Well, to the point of this district, if you've got people that are working across the road, they're driving from wherever they're driving from, and they're at lunch, or they want to go charge, or they maybe don't have EV at their place of business.
yeah,
Having some in and around this use allows them to maybe get a quick charge, and they can get back to Lincoln County, or they can get back to wherever they have to drive to if they have low range.
Might some of these businesses already put that in though?
They-
Like, for
they
example, at
don't.
work, I know they started putting some in the parking lot.
Are you suggesting that we put it in as an incentive and give them an additional space for it, or are you inclined to go along with what
I
Holly's
wasn't-
identifying?
Necessarily thinking about the incentive that Holly was mentioning. I was just, in general, how do we feel about requiring, not even as an incentive, but like requiring it would be a minimum standard.
You go 1 out of 10, 1 out of 20.
Yeah, we've got minimums for all the other parts of the parking. Should 1 out of 10 be EV? I don't know what's.
I can,
or-
I can look
or is
into,
it linked to a use type.
right. I can look into, other ways communities do. I know that they do the incentive side, but I'll look at what you're saying of maybe they just require one for every
Yeah.
10 spaces.
I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
I just want to,
I like the thought.
I'd like for us to think about having that in there.
Yep.
Yeah, but again, we have to realize that that one space is now dedicated to EV, whether or not it's being used.
Right.
So you're losing overall space.
Mhm.
But as electric vehicles become more prevalent, maybe it's always gonna be used anyways.
Well, they do get used.
Yeah.
And they're used a lot more in well, it's coming back from trip in Europe and in Amsterdam, they put EV stations on the street
Mhm.
that the city's providing. So many, I don't know how often they were, but I saw them almost every block. There'd be one or two EV
Yeah,
stations.
there's enough EV charging companies out there that would be hungry to get a few little spaces that they would put the infrastructure in, they would put their,
Mhm.
and that's something else we would have to consider. When they do that, sometimes they come with a kiosk type
Right.
thing and they.
What's
wanna-
the
they wanna
screening for that?
advertise. They want to
That-
advertise.
Okay, yep,
And get that revenue, that's their revenue stream.
yep.
And in exchange for that, they're providing, they're putting in the infrastructure, but they're just letting the public
Well,
use it. So-
Let's let Holly then look at it from the perspective of what are the options that we could consider.
And also look at screening and signage too.
Yeah.
Because I don't
That's a
think we have-
possibility.
Now, do some use, do some of them charge also? I mean, charge a fee?
Mhm.
They can.
You have to put a credit card in usually to,
You have to- You have to
Yeah.
put a
That's how you
credit
pay
card.
for
Okay. So that is actually a business then.
Uh-huh,
yeah.
yeah. Yep, and
Okay.
then there's an app on your phone.
Well, the ones I see are, like you go to Huntington or something, it's free.
Right.
But-
Some are free, but there's a lot that charge too.
Depends on where you go.
All right, well, we'll look into that for you.
And
Okay.
and also see if the township can tax that.
But then you
Well-
run into issues with signage. If they put up advertising
Right.
and you're fairly strict on
Right.
signage.
Right. Yep, so I want to look at that as well.
Good point.
All right, so one thing that has changed on this too is the bottom of page 23. We have drive-through stacking requirements because our other overlays have not allowed auto-oriented uses. We did not have those.
Mhm.
So we've included these in here for you. We differentiate between the types of auto-oriented uses. And then provide the minimum number of stacking spaces depending upon the different types of uses. I'll give you a minute to take a look at
Yeah,
this.
what is A3? It talks about full service car wash, A3 only, self-service automated car wash, A3 only.
What is that?
Full service car wash, A3 only.
What page is this?
Oh, you know what that
Before.
is? That's before, that needs to come out. That was when we had 3 different sub areas.
No.
So that needs to come out.
This
And it
might be
comes
really
out,
stupid,
yeah.
but what is stacking, like, what does that mean? Drive-through stacking requirements?
So it's the stacking, if you look at B below there, it says stacking spaces shall be a minimum of 9 feet by 20 feet, and I'll just stop, Tom right now, I need to spell out 20. So basically, it's basically a
Oh,
car
okay.
length.
How many cars?
So
yeah,
how many cars has to
Okay.
be
Can be
able
in
to stack?
line,
Like,
So you don't
Yeah.
go into the streets with it.
stacking, what is
and the
stacking?
20 could be multiple lines, but there'd be enough spaces for 20 cars to be waiting for a car wash.
Correct, yep,
Got it, thank you.
correct.
I think it's good to have those simply because otherwise you sometimes they back out on the street too quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, also on page 23, under 5 access, A, access to a county road shall be limited instead of all.
Mhm.
Oh, Hall, I see.
Here's this.
Anything else on stacking?
Yeah. Keep going.
All right, signs, I believe this is all.
One thing I just noticed, again, 5A, the last sentence. On township roads, there shall be a minimum of 200 feet access points. And that's something the township has to enforce.
That is
Where are
true.
you, John?
That's
What
correct.
page?
He's on page
23.
23.
5A, the last sentence in 5A.
Yep.
And if you've got, I guess even in FR2, minimum frontage is 175 feet, I think.
But this would be,
You could run it if you have a string of FR1 parcels. You can't have more than 175 feet between the driveways.
You don't
that's
have
not
that.
applying to that. This is just for the overlay.
I mean, you could have, well, okay, so the houses are not gonna be on the road,
We're not gonna have single family
Not
houses.
single family houses
Yeah.
in here.
right? But whatever residences, they're not necessarily gonna, okay, 200 feet.
Right. So yeah, most of ours are gonna have these common access points going back to multifamily areas
There'll
or
be like an
commercial.
access road.
Yeah.
People will enter into
Yes.
that. So there'd have to be at least 200 feet between
Between,
points where they would
correct.
come out of that access road to the
Yes.
main street.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Going,
you were already on page 24.
that's okay. Back on signs, this is all the same as the other overlay districts.
Yeah, signs.
All the way through there. I can probably take out on page 29, take out number 8, because that is from the industrial one, the loading dock signs.
The loading docks.
Yep.
So remove the whole loading dock thing?
Yep. So 8 will come out, 9 will become 8.
I think there are other areas that you've mentioned, loading docks.
I can do a search and
might,
find
yeah.
out.
I'm not sure.
Nope.
Usually I think about a loading dock, I'm associating with some kind of warehousing, and warehousing is prohibited in
Right.
this district.
That's why I'm taking that
In a
out.
commercial building that has deliveries.
Well, in the landscaping section, we have,
I understand what you're saying, though. I
in
don't
the,
know.
in the landscaping area, we have loading zones, which
Okay.
is different than a loading dock.
Dock,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. And then utilities, just saying it has to be underground. And then divergences, which are the same as the other districts. If they can't comply with something that's in here, they can request a divergence, and you would consider that as part of their development plan approval.
With the exception of,
With the exception
Density.
of density, open space and uses.
Yeah. No waiver shall be granted for reduction of open space density or uses other than those permitted.
and correct me if the wording of this is the same as MUA or MUB. So the way I read this now is that the zoning commission can't allow a divergence for open space density or uses, but the township trustees could.
I thought we couldn't do it at all.
Can't do it at all.
Well, that's not the way this reads.
Well, let's read it again.
Let's go to the procedure section that got approved.
Yeah, it does say here, Tom, that we can grant divergences with the exception of permitted uses, density, and percentage of open space.
Yes, we can. We can't.
We can't.
But that doesn't mean the trustees can't override it. And I thought that was not allowed.
I'm looking in the procedure
You're
section.
saying specifically because it says the zoning commission?
Are you saying that because the only thing that's mentioned under you is the zoning commission? I think that,
Should say the township.
Well, I'd like to see what the rest of it says. I mean, we may have let it go before. I don't know.
if that language is the same in the other ones, then it's already on the books this
Yeah,
way.
that's right.
But I don't think the intent was ever that it was,
So this, the procedures say criteria for approval, whether the application, so this is the
Yeah.
reviewing authorities, which includes the planning, the zoning commission and the trustees. The reviewing authorities shall consider the following. When the application and proposed development plan are consistent with all aspects of the purpose, criteria, intent, and standards of this zoning resolution and or any proposed divergences. So it includes the divergences being consistent with the intent of the district. So I would say the intent is to not allow a divergence for use, density, or open space.
And really, that last sentence that on page 29, Tom, doesn't specify that just the zoning commission. It just says no divergence shall be granted for these three things.
I think a smart attorney could argue that the paragraph begins the zoning commission. It doesn't apply to anybody else, but I'm not trying to solve it. I'm just trying to point it out right now. That it struck me as,
can you look into that to see if it was potentially an issue, Holly?
I can, I mean, I think the procedures clearly state the trustees have the final action when you go to the procedure section.
Yes.
We can, in this particular overlay, we can add the word trustees. So it says the zoning commission and trustees at the beginning of that paragraph, just to make it clearer, but I think you're still covered even in the other ones.
You could say consistent with the application procedures, the approving authority or whatever the words were that.
It was approving, the reviewing
The
authorities.
reviewing
Yeah.
authority as part of the development plan approval process. Oh, yeah, it already says that as outlined and whatever.
Yeah,
May grant divergences. So if you change zoning commission.
I
to
guess
approving
the
authority.
question would be if there were, an applicant requests a divergence, the township zoning commission says no. So that we don't recommend the approval of the divergence, but that applicant goes to the trustees directly and requests the same divergence. Do they have the authority to grant it at that point? That becomes the question.
and I thought they did not, was my.
correct.
Right, and-
Right. I agree, they don't. It says the reviewing authorities must determine if the divergence meets the purpose, criteria, intent of the standards. And if you go back to the other section, it's saying you can't grant one for open space,
Entity.
density, or land
Right,
use.
they can't be granted for those.
Right.
So
It's a roundabout way to get there. It could be clearer. I mean, that's why we could add that language in the other, but I think it's there. It's
Yeah.
just, you have to connect the dots.
Or maybe put in the wording reviewing authority rather than zoning commission here,
Yep,
what matches what's in
Yep,
the
we
procedure.
can do that.
I don't want to land on something and
Yep.
have it be a half solution.
Okay.
No, page 30, we're done.
We got through it, yes. Anything else, Holly, that you need to point out for us? this
no,
point?
I think we're in good shape. We can go back, make these changes. We will double check all the cross references. We will review the areas you want us to research, like the parking, EV parking. And then we'll bring it back to you when will you want us?
Well, and I want to bring this up with the commission as a whole at this point, then when they bring it back the next time, going to be my suggestion, and I had already suggested it to Jim, that you'll be prepared to submit it as an application to amend the zoning resolution. And the form would be completed and submitted at that time. So
Okay.
the next time you bring it, we would do it that way. So
Okay.
that we can make a decision then about accepting it as an application at that.
And then that you would set
And
your
then we
public
would set the
hearing.
hearing following that,
Yep.
yes, or at that time.
Right,
So,
Sound reasonable? So she'll bring
Mhm.
back these changes
yeah,
and then we'll have it at that point consider it as a potential application to
I
stay
think
here.
it's a reasonable time.
Are we able to get the changes like before that we can take a look at so we don't
Yeah.
spend a lot of
Yeah.
time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Will that include the definitions?
Yeah, let me look and see what we approved as
That'd
definitions.
be helpful. I know.
There weren't
Totally
too
different.
many.
Yep.
There's a,
Yeah.
there's a few here, but not too many. Yeah, we can go through them here.
Yeah, we'll have to add some, we have some of them that you already approved.
Mhm.
But I don't think they're all there, like, places of assembly.
Yeah,
is
that's what
not
I was
there.
referencing, the
Yeah.
ones you mentioned that
Yeah.
weren't there.
But you do have automobile oriented uses is in there. Curbside pickup, microbrewery, mixed use building, mixed use development. So you have some of them that we did, but yeah, some of these newer ones we can add in. Yep.
Okay, and then the question becomes, when will we do that?
Yep.
And in response to Brittany's question, if we could have them in advance of whatever meeting date we have decided upon for that, what, a week in advance?
Yeah.
At this point, I'm looking at, let me get my phone here. On the 4th,
We have a Jackson hearing. Remember, the 4th has to be held at the Grange.
And the fourth, like our team is spread thin that night already. So,
That's not a good night anyway.
yeah.
okay,
So November 4th meeting has to be at the Grange.
Yes, because this room will be filled with.
because it'll be closed for the election the next day.
So do
Good
we
reason.
want to do the next workshop meeting then instead of Scott?
Well, the next workshop meeting is November, and we were expecting
About to come back.
Scott to come back at that time. Do we want to schedule a special meeting? We already got one scheduled on October the,
You wanted to accept the application.
28th.
Accept those at our workshop meetings?
like, where-
We can't accept applications at our workshop meeting.
You wanted to use that meeting to, if you wanted to accept the application at our the next meeting that we review it, then we wouldn't be able to do it at a workshop meeting because we don't accept applications then, right?
Correct.
historically, that's correct. But there's no rule against it. It's
Okay.
up to us.
Okay, all right.
If we want to accept it, we could.
I just-
We could accept it at a
I
special
wasn't
meeting
sure
if we
from a
want.
protocol standpoint,
But-
if we,
That's been our past practice. Yes, absolutely. That we have done that. Now we did accept an application from ourselves back in what month was it? August or September?
Mhm.
And we did it at a workshop meeting.
all right.
It was to change some of the other language.
The moral of the story is it's allowed.
Do we want to
Yes.
make this the
If
November
we choose
11th,
to do it, yeah. Typically, we don't.
the November 11th meeting?
Unless we
Or is
think
it
it's
two?
gonna go real quick and we do it on the 4th.
I
After
can,
the check.
I,
Oh,
we're all three,
can't do it.
Ben's at some place and then we're just spread thin that night.
So the 4th is not a good
Yeah.
night.
Not for us,
Planning
no.
to do it. All right.
I
Let's see.
should do.
What were
Uh,
we gonna
Oh,
review
no, I
with
have a
Scott
6
on the
o'clock meeting
11th?
that night.
Workshop meeting is the 11th.
No, what were we gonna review with Scott then? What's?
Yes, the 11th
I'm
would
just
be,
wondering, is this more important than that maybe we
We've already
defer?
put Scott off. He didn't come this past.
he didn't come this month.
What are we
So
worried
if-
about his feelings or are
No,
we,
no.
I'm just trying to,
So we're running.
We're
behind the-
just,
okay.
we'll run out of time and then we run out of money
Oh, okay, so
with the township trustees.
he's
I mean,
contracted in a time frame, not.
there's a
binding
time
any-
frame involved where they pay the trustees pay a fee, and then if it's not done within that calendar year, then it goes into the next calendar year, so there's a new charge.
Okay, got it.
Would this be less time consuming where you can accept it? You've already reviewed the changes, you talk about it, then accept it, and then go to Scott? I mean, to me, it seems like it would go pretty quick for you.
I mean, we
I
went
mean-
pretty
Well,
quickly
I'm
tonight.
just going to suggest, I think, Jim, what you are just suggesting as well. We could maybe plan to do it on the 11th and schedule it for,
Why don't you schedule it for, can you guys get here a little earlier on the 11th?
yeah, I'm looking at that. In terms of what the only thing that we've got scheduled for the 11th would be with Scott and whatever we deal with him. He's bringing back what you guys dealt with. I missed the last meeting. So the articles 20, 10, and 18 that you reviewed.
I mean,
If
so
we bring
all,
those back.
so all we have to do is just review the changes and the definitions
Mm-hmm,
potentially.
mm-hmm.
We can get those ahead of time,
You'll
both
have,
from Scott and from you. We should be able to get through it.
So
We could designate
could
30
we
minutes
schedule
for
you
it.
for 7:30 on the 11th? And I can communicate with Scott and schedule him for 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as we're
Yeah.
committed to
We're-
being efficient within
we're-
those 30.
Everyone's committed to that?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
Then would you be able to get that information to us then, Holly, by the 4th?
Yes, we can.
Well, before the 4th would also be good.
If we have it done before the 4th, we will get it to you before the 4th.
Okay, because,
Well, the 4th
We'll
being,
have a
since we're
meeting.
meeting that night, if we have a hard copy, everybody can get it that
Yep.
night. Yeah.
we're also meeting on the 28th though, so if we had a copy, then we could get it.
Oh, okay, good point. If you can get to us by the 28th, please do. And Mike's not here for me to check with him, but Valerie, have you heard anything about whether or not we've got any more information from that Capiccio? Because all we have is, we do have the request for the hearing, or not the hearing, I apologize, for the preliminary meeting.
We don't have enough to review.
But we don't have any other documents. None. So I was gonna talk to
mayor
Mike
not
about
being
that. I
this
will
way.
communicate with Mike and let him know that we need that information. If we don't have it at least a week prior to this scheduled preliminary meeting, we will cancel the preliminary meeting.
I don't think he knows that. I, I think I've just overheard him in discussions with the potential applicant. And they were working on it, but there may have been talk that they were gonna bring it with them, so you need to convey to Mike.
No, we need it beforehand.
I
You
thought
can need
we
to
did,
convey to Mike
pretty sure we did.
that needs to be
Yeah.
done.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
I
will.
don't think he understands that.
Mike doesn't?
Right.
Oh,
That we need to see it.
okay. I will
In other
make
words,
sure that gets communicated to him. If he brings it that night,
I know.
he could turn it in that night, but we're not gonna deal with it.
Okay,
Put it that way.
okay. I agree with you guys. I'm just saying, I think there might be a break in communication there.
Okay.
That he needs to convey to them to get it sooner to you.
Yeah, I thought that was understood from our last meeting, but obviously you're saying it may not have been.
Well, I think they're
That's
having
understandable.
deaf ears on it, so.
All right, so Holly,
Yep.
we will plan on the 11th.
Got it on my calendar.
And you will get that to us as soon as you can. If you can get it to us by the 28th, please do so.
Okay.
Otherwise, the 4th is your
Yep.
drop dead
And
date.
she'll be scheduled for 7:30 and Scott at 8.
Yes,
Okay.
all right. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for tonight.
Thank you.
Has Megan had her baptism of fire?
Well, this was-
Yes.
This is an
This
easy.
is fun,
This
Megan.
wasn't
Yeah.
fire. This wasn't fire.
No, I know, this was like smooth.
It was.
This doesn't count.
It doesn't count.
It gets to be a lot more fun than this sometimes. All right. Well, thank you very much.
I know, I was
Holly,
gonna say,
Megan,
I
and
like how reassess your definition of fun.
Say, Mike,
Hey, Bob.
Hey, Bob, yes.
hey, nobody asked about any public input, so I mean,
Oh,
had a couple of quick things. You have reflective glass. What about reflective film? Which basically is the same problem.
Okay. Yep.
And the other thing I had is no motor homes shall be parked in front of a building. Can you define motor home? I mean, what if they're coming in to shop or it's 3606?
Big one.
Wait, 36 is
On page, the bottom paragraph on page 5.
letter. Oh,
3606C, a recreational trailer of any type, no boats, no motorhomes.
What page? I'm sorry, I'm just not pulling.
Page-
it.
It's paragraph C at the bottom of page 5.
Is that, Bob, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, I mean, do you mean for a period of time? Is that?
Yeah, because
or-
we say like,
like what if it's a repair facility?
Yeah,
Because those are allowed, right?
gotta be in the
Repair-
back then. It's gotta be
It has to be in the
behind
back.
building.
Yeah, yeah,
Most of the parking spaces are in the back anyway.
yeah,
right?
you,
Or, well,
Cause we're not gonna want all the parking up front, huh?
no, the whole purpose of this is to not allow outdoor storage and parking of overnight vehicles.
right, but.
Yeah.
Does it say that?
So it does for the trucks. And then for the,
like a hotel or motel, somebody has a truck, they've got a boat, they're pulling a boat, they park. They're gonna stay the night in the hotel.
mhm,
They've got a travel trailer with them. They just stopped off in
They just
You
have
know,
to be
mhm.
but
not in front of the hotel,
where
yet behind.
that's the only
hotel.
parking that.
Yeah,
the
I
only
mean,
place
that's
they
up
could
to you
park.
guys. I mean,
Like, is the zoning officer gonna go out and issue a citation because somebody
Probably.
stayed overnight at a
No,
hotel with their
no.
boat?
Might
They're
not,
gonna know
but-
about it.
I'm okay with how it is.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
It doesn't prohibit it completely, just where it is. And I think the intent is to prevent long-term parking.
And I think that's the same language in other sections.
Yeah, it is similar.
I don't know if there's a need for any change here or not, Holly. I'll defer to you in terms of this language being in other districts.
it is in other districts. I think the intent is to not allow them for a permanent amount of time.
Only for an extended time. It's
Extended
not
time.
necessarily Bob saying somebody stops in to buy a grocery or buy a 6-pack of beer.
Yeah, I think the way that we can differentiate this one from the other districts too is that we are allowing some auto-oriented uses. Or, and so by default, we need to allow maybe some of this parking for a
And
short
I
period
think
of time.
what Louis was pointing out with a hotel, that
Mhm.
could very easily be
Right.
the case. I've
Yeah,
done that myself.
I've
with
done
a-
it
with
too.
a
I agree.
Travel trailer. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can put a time frame in there, like 48 hours, 24 hours, something along those lines.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I think time frame probably solves it.
Yep.
All right.
Anything else, Bob?
One final thing, and this is just a value judgment. There have been situations where whole communities have planted one type of tree, and then there's been a disease, and literally the entire population of trees is wiped out. Is there any justification to put a variety of trees of some?
So,
That's, again, a judgment, just.
yeah, I have
Street
language
trees.
that I can put in
Mhm.
regarding that. Yes.
Or
Thank
it can become part of the development plan
Yep.
when they bring us the lands.
Yeah, but having language in there saying there needs to be a diversity. And we have.
But maybe if
language.
we add that, yeah, thank you for pointing that out, Bob, because that is something that we have addressed previously.
Mhm.
Actually, we did it with the development on down here off of Gorsuch and off of Harlan. We wanted a variety in there rather than just one species.
Thanks, Bob.
Can I ask one?
Yeah,
more
thanks for
question?
pointing that out.
Oh, we're still here? Back on page 1, I'm not. I'm
No,
not starting
Tom,
all
no.
over again.
Oh, no, Tom.
But it was something I noticed and we were already moving on. 3601 purpose H. I'm not so sure it should
That's-
be in there.
Um,
Because it
It's
doesn't,
in
Helps to
really-
protect the northern area of Harlem Township from
because it
annexation.
really doesn't protect.
It
the zoning
read,
itself.
I think in the other ones, we changed it to reduce the likelihood.
I think it still says protect.
Does it?
It says protect the southern area. And
On the southern one, you think it says that? I thought we changed it to say reduce the likelihood. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it helps to protect.
It's
It
not saying
doesn't
it will.
protect.
It doesn't say it protects, it says it helps to protect.
I would go back and I'd look at what we have.
Okay.
And match whatever we.
Okay,
So it's not, doesn't stick out.
okay,
That's it.
cool.
All right, so we're all set for our next meeting. Thank you, Bob. Anything else?
Nope, thank you.
Oh, there he is. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Bob, you're welcome to stay as we review these minutes.
No, thank you.
Night, Holly, Megan,
Vote on these
Jim,
minutes.
thank you.
We've already reviewed them.
We've already reviewed the minutes. Don't even. No.
All
Have
right,
anything, Tom? We wouldn't wanna.
although we would remind you to do it online, like the
We
rest
didn't
of us.
want to pressure you into not saying something.
all right.
So
To be in your stack.
I did,
You're passing this set, which
I double checked
Tom
and
doesn't have it.
everything lines up. Everything lines up with the
Is
last.
that another step?
Well,
Copy.
You got yours?
I have an extra.
I think you may have grabbed the ones from the left of your side instead of on the
I've
right.
got mine right here.
I don't know. Does somebody want mine? You can have it. I've already reviewed it.
Oh, well, we've got an extra one here somehow. So I may have picked up the wrong one
think
when I
that's
started.
Tom's.
At the regular meeting minutes of October 7th.
Yes, those are the first ones we're looking at.
I reviewed everything aligns with what we have.
There's a red line copy, Tom, that shows the changes that have been suggested, and then there's the final version. So unless, Tom,
wait a
you've
minute,
got
wait a
some
minute.
changes, there's 4 of us that are ready to
Sorry.
move forward.
Hey, you got me outvoted, John. No, just
Yes,
go.
you do.
I don't want to keep, I don't want to keep this.
Oh, you ready for me?
Are you gonna make the motion?
I
Brittany?
can't second if you don't.
I know. I make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of the October 7th meeting as corrected.
Second that motion.
Moved by Brittany, seconded by Louis to approve the minutes as corrected for October 7th, the regular meeting minutes. Any further discussion? Tom, did you see anything that we overlooked?
Nothing.
All right, thank
Good
you.
answer.
Uh, all right, if there's no further discussion, then all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, no. All right, the regular meeting minutes are approved as corrected. And now we will look at the hearing minutes for HTCC 2408
Did anyone have anything that we didn't already
on
have?
October 7th.
Anything?
You have those?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, 'cause I got, looks like I got 2 copies.
I've got
I know why, because
I've
I
got 2
printed.
copies as well.
Yes,
printed
there
it
are.
in.
We all got
Do
2.
you have one?
There are 2 copies of the red line.
Okay. All right, now we're looking at the hearing minutes.
I will make another motion to approve the HTZC 2408 hearing minutes from October 7th as corrected.
Second.
Moved by Brittany, seconded by Louis. Any further discussion? Give Tom a chance to look.
Nope.
No?
I've read through them. I just can't print them off my computer or something.
Oh, okay, good, thank you. And hearing no additional comments. Let's take a vote on the motion. The motion is to approve the hearing minutes of 2408. Moved by Brittany, seconded by Louis. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, no. Those minutes are approved also. Very good. Thank you very much. That brings us up to tonight. So we're current with all our minutes and we won't get mixed up.
Yes.
I hope.
There's no public left.
All right.
We outlasted.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will follow up with Mike about Cappuccia to see what the status is on that development plan, and if I don't notify you otherwise, we will be meeting on the 28th.
Okay.
Um,
And we may need to notify people like Joe Clace about the hearing on November 4th, the location being at the Grange.
oh,
We cannot be in this room when the equipment is in here.
Needs to be on the calendar and link and all that. for people.
The public notice for the hearing would have said that, right?
no, the public notice for the hearing probably just identifies here because that's a standard notice.
Did you send it yet? Did you send the public notice?
Yeah,
Yeah.
What's this address?
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know it wasn't gonna be.
Well,
We'll just have to put
We'll
some.
put a sign on the door.
Yeah, we could tell.
YouTube, blah, blah, blah.
tell-
Trying to do that.
Well, we always put something on the door, but we can't. Whenever there's an election in this room, we are bumped out.
I didn't pay any attention.
And there have been times in the past when we've met in the trustee's office.
These were being moved to the Grange. Because I know we met with, a few months ago with the county, and they were thrilled with the Grange and.
Oh,
thought
we asked
that
them.
was-
Last I heard, they did not want to do a switch during a presidential election.
Because when we met with them several months ago, they said the Grange was great and thumbs up.
But
Presidential, we've got.
they didn't change it, as far as you know. I mean,
They did, just that they approved the Grange as a place to have the voting machine.
Gotcha.
So.
well, we need, I guess would need to verify, is the Board of Elections using this location or are they doing it over there? As far as I know, they're doing it here.
See, as far as I knew. Because like I said, we met with them, they toured it, they looked at it, gave thumbs up.
As a poll worker who's usually stationed here, last I heard, they did not want to make a switch in a presidential election year. But please check with them.
Yes, and then if it has,
I'll need to know
if,
too.
if the Board of Elections,
You can adjust, if you're wrong, you can adjust.
yeah, if the Board of Elections are holding the election here on November the 4th, then we need to announce that our meeting is going to be at the Grange. And put that up on the website. The Board of Elections, I've got a phone number to give you, yes, not a person, but a phone number.
That's why you probably look up the polling station, and find out where it's
Their
located.
Their
On the
website
website will tell you whether it's here
Where
or
the
there.
polling station is.
I know, me too.
Okay, the Board of Elections number is 740-833-2080.
2080.
Mhm.
Check on it tomorrow, because there's a.
Yeah.
There's a voting center there.
All right, the other thing that I would just kind of give you as an announcement, I got word today from Mike Cannon that, the trustees are scheduled to have the hearing on the, Coppola, hearing 2407.
Jacobus hearing.
Jacobus, I said Coppola.
Uh-huh.
But that's who's the objections coming. Sorry. Jacobus hearing. And Mike informed me today that the expectation is that Jacobus is going to withdraw their application. Because Corey has now recommended that they have to go through the BZA.
Oh. Because of the frontage.
Yeah.
Because the frontage does not meet the minimum requirement of 300 feet for a 5-acre lot for AR1.
So they're gonna go try to get a variance?
I'm assuming that that's the
Yeah.
case, yeah. But as I said, Mike just informed me of that today. But I wanted
So
to.
after they get the variance, do they still need to apply for a rezoning?
Yes. Because it won't be AR1, it'll still be,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it will be AR1, it won't be
Won't be
FR1.
So the variance will be to allow them to have the less frontage.
The
So-
variance apparently would be to allow them to have a frontage of less than 300 feet for a 5-acre lot.
Which would then in turn allow us to grant the zoning.
According to what we're hearing now from legal counsel. Corey, go.
I do.
That's,
with legal
that
counsel.
issue has been dealt
Previously.
with previously by previous prosecutors, and they always had taken the opposite position.
Yeah.
And, but
John,
this
what's your street
prosecutor
number?
is doing it differently.
13269.
6, 9, and Evilheimer is with a Y or no Y?
Technically, Delaware County still goes with the EI. So for all our legal documents,
Let's see if that comes up.
but it almost always, if you do it online, comes up with a Y.
All right, listen, 13269. Bevelheimer, Bevelheimer.
Heymer or I. I'm trying to think. I've seen it in print with a Y somewhere.
Yeah,
Oh,
this
yeah,
one
everything that comes
says-
out of Plain Township or Franklin County is with a Y.
Yeah.
If you
This
look
one-
up online for
Right,
Delaware
right, came
County,
up. So this is Harlem D, 092-1 Harlem D, Harlem Township Hall, 3883 South State Route 605.
That's here.
okay, that's,
Polling was-
that's what the polling location is still listed as then.
Okay, got it.
Well, if the Board of Elections hasn't changed it yet on that website, they're not going to change it this late stage.
No.
Or they just forgot to change it there. I'll just double check this.
That's
No,
They
I
will-
would say give them a call and verify because sometimes they can be a little late.
I think it's gonna be here.
I would,
but,
Well,
I think the
let's-
odds are that the
Yeah,
election will
let's
be
not
here.
speculate.
Yes.
Valerie will check for us.
We really would prefer it to be at the Grange because they don't allow food here anymore. So that leaves lunch and dinner kind of in the car. you know.
Yeah.
Kendra allowed us to use her office last year. I don't know if we can convince Ashley to do the same this year.
I don't think there'd be any problem with that.
Yeah, but there's a zoning office.
No, you have to talk
You
to
could
Mike
sweet- you
about
could
that.
Sweet talk Mike.
What's the, is that,
Mike
are
or-
they the back office?
The back office. No, the zoning office.
Or allowed us to use
Has-
The back office.
Yeah, Kendra's in the back office. Well, Ashley's in the back office. That's where Valerie is.
Can we talk about this outside of the zoning meeting then? Yeah,
May I make a
anything
motion-
else zoning related we need to talk
I
about?
make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
Second,
I
Did it too fast.
All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.
okay. Now we can talk, now you can talk about where we're gonna eat lunch.
Nice work, Brittany.
Okay, now you guys can talk about where you're gonna eat lunch, all you want.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go home. and
You need to
sleep.
know
I got
we're
two
gonna go to
brothers
the
who are-
meeting on the fourth.
I can't read it.
I already voted. I'm not worrying about it this year. It's too much stress in the morning to have to get up earlier,
Actually,
you know?
it is.
I just like, I already get up early enough, like I just.
Thanks, Alan. And I think we now will just use the, I won't keep sending it to your personal
Yeah,
email.
keep using.
I'll just use the Harlem one.
Yep.
And